It's Flames Nation Radio. Flames Nation managing editor Ryan Pike here with Flames Nation staff writer Shane Stevenson. Hi, Shane.
How's it going?
And for those of you joining us on video, Shane looks ridiculous in the best possible way. He's Shane. Why don't you before we get into the meat of this meal, let's get into what the hell you're doing.
I figured I was going to do a Movember campaign this year to raise awareness for men's cancer and men's mental health. It's both things. So I figured I'd make myself look like a complete dummy for a few months. It looks really like 70s porn star like, so I'm okay with that. But I'm going to do a Movember campaign, try to raise money. The punishment for myself if I raise enough is I have to keep this look till Valentine's Day should I raise $20,000. So I'm gonna hit the ground running November 1st, and hopefully you guys, I mean, if I have to stay like this till February, it's because it's for a good cause. So much to the chagrin of my better half. So
I was gonna ask, and now I don't have to. So if you want to make Shane's life problematic, let's say, but also do a lot to raise money and awareness for men's health causes, he will be posting basically as soon as the clock ticks over to November, he'll be posting that on his social Flash_33 on Twitter. So if you want to subject Shane to more public ridicule and also raise money for a good cause, we thought we'd lead up with that. As usual, ding dong, we're delivered to you by DoorDash here at Flames Nation Radio, and we're also presented by the wonderful people at Eau Claire Distillery, who make Rupert's whiskey, the official whiskey of the Calgary Flames. And being entirely self-serving here, we at the site had something to toast this week with a nice tumbler of Rupert's whiskey. For the first time ever in the site's history, we hit 1 million page views for a month. We've gotten close before. Not this close, as in, I think in July, when literally everything happened in the Flames world, we got close to 1 million, but not quite there. And we're well over 1 million now. So before we get into the fun parts of this, we just want to say a hearty thank you to everyone who supports the site, who consumes any of the many things that we do visually, textually, or audio wise. We all are very appreciative of the fact that you guys let us be a part of both your lives and how you enjoy the hockey, because at the end of the day, it's meant to be fun, and we hope we help you have more fun. Speaking of fun, Shane, it's been an interesting week. So the Flames played 3 games over the past 7 days, and of the 3 games, one of them, let's say 2 of them, they had slightly more fun in. On Tuesday,
they might have only had fun in one, to be honest, but
I think you learned something. On Thursday, they played and lost to the Buffalo Sabres. It was the Flames' first loss of the season, their first regulation loss of the season, and you could make an argument the first game of the season, what they were, I don't want to say thoroughly outplayed, but they were. If we're doing full disclosure, they were missing Noah Hannafin. There has been no official word what he was out with. The suspicion is probably some kind of illness. He'd been in and out of practice for the course of the week, and then he was back the day after, and then he played on both Saturdays and Tuesdays games. So the suspicion is whatever it was, extremely minor, probably an illness. Maybe he was banged up. Who the hell knows? They're not saying, and if we ask Daryl Sutter, he's not going to tell us.
Sure,
so,
messed their defense up, I'll tell you that much. Whew.
That's the thing. So the Flames, and Daryl Sutter pointed out on Thursday night after post game, he just mentioned like there was only 2 guys on their entire blue line who had played in games 4 or 5 against Edmonton. They had Chris Tanev, they had Nikita Zadorov, and then everyone else is sort of just all over the place. They actually, there might be 3 guys. He might be misremembering. Did Tanev play game 5?
Tanev played game 5, didn't play game 4, but Anderson played both games.
Yeah, and Zadorov played both games.
And Zadorov played both games. So there's 3 of them. Plus, but yeah, without Hannafin.
I think he might.
Stone played too, though.
Anyway, but I see, there weren't a lot of guys who played together. Tanev and Weegar were the pairing kept together, and they were playing their fourth game together, and ever. And then you put Nikita Zadorov with Anderson instead of Stone, and then you need to give them some zone start help to figure things out. Connor Mackey comes in playing his first game of the season. He ended up being benched for basically the entire third period. He played 28 seconds. I didn't think he was bad in the sense that he didn't stand out on a defensive group that generally seemed discombobulated by the lack of Noah Hannafin. He did not look especially bad, but I asked Daryl Sutter about it, and Daryl Sutter sort of kneecapped him a bit, unfortunately. But he, Daryl's an honest guy. I asked how he thought Hannafin did, and he just mused that, or not Hannafin, how Mackey did. He mused that, if you get an opportunity, you need to take advantage of it. And it was an opportunity for Mackey to play, and he didn't look great, but nobody on the Flames blue line that night looked great. The goaltending was the forwards, the defense was Hannafin is Hannafin I would argue Hannafin is both underrated and overrated. Now, let's say that in this respect. Sometimes people look at Hannafin and go, hot damn, he could be a top pairing defenseman. And he's 25 and he's still very good. And I still think he's got growth left in him. Mark Giordano, granted, an outlier, but Mark Giordano did not become Norris caliber Mark Giordano until he's 30. So
yeah, he learned. He steadily grew though.
If you accept
the defensive game,
and if you accept the premise that defensemen, especially smart ones that learn from good teammates, get better and better to let's say 28. That means you still got 3 years to 27, 28. You still got 2 or 3 years until you hit peak Noah Hannafin. So I still think he has the potential to be a tippity top, bona fide first pairing guy. He's not there yet, but he can get there. So that's when I say I think people might overrate him a bit. He's not a top guy yet, but he has the potential to become a top guy, and he has those games where he shows that potential. He's underrated in the sense that you take him out of the Flames lineup and look at how the blue line looked.
It did not look good. It was bad. They got hemmed in their own zone. The Sabres are a young team, and I thought a veteran Flames team would be able to take advantage of that. But instead, the young Sabres came to play and were skating, and it got bad early. Like it got out of hand a little early, and then they couldn't play catch up. And a couple of goals.
And I think the Sabres, the best part. Like we talk about teams playing fast and loose and young. I'd say Vancouver has a lot of young guys, and they should be better than they are. But I think maybe the pressure of the situation, the expectations of you should be better, gets to you. It happened in Calgary in 15-16, where after the 14-15 season, everyone expected the Flames to be a constant rocket ship up to the sky. And it turns out they weren't, because that's not how progress works.
And the way pressure they played in 14-15 coming back from all those games was not sustainable hockey.
Yeah. And pressure can mess with you. Expectations can mess with you. And I'll say this about Buffalo. They're such a fun team to watch. They were playing loose. They were having fun. Guys were making plays. They're super fast. They got
dangerous defense.
They have do I love their goaltending? No, I don't think you can win with Eric Comrie. Are they going to win with Eric Comrie? No, I don't think he'll be the goaltender they lean on when the team gets really good. The thing is, Eric Comrie is good enough. He's been very good for them lately. I think the night before, a couple days before, he played Calgary. He had 46 saves against Edmonton. Like he was excellent on that road trip.
He was kind of hot coming in. Like he was riding one of the best games he's ever played in the pros in his life. And coming into Calgary, and then it just wasn't a well executed game, which is good because they kind of woke up the rest of the team, and everyone was like, "All right, okay, that's the bad game this week. Let's pick up our socks."
Yeah, and we might as well transition to the game on Saturday, because so the Flames went, if you look at the overall Flames schedule, the first 6 games, you go Colorado, defending Stanley Cup champions, Edmonton, the team that lost in 4 games to the Stanley Cup champions, but still a very good team, the team that eliminated Calgary in the playoffs. Then Vegas, a team that's full of piss and vinegar and wants to, looks like they could be a good, playoff team or very much in the contention for a playoff spot. Then you have Buffalo, young, no expectations, playing loose, playing fast. If you were going to say which one of those is the trip up game for the Flames, it'd probably be Buffalo. Then
they call it a trap game, I think, as people sometimes call it. But
yeah, it's the team that if you're in that locker room, you're going, yeah, Edmonton, yeah, Colorado, yeah, Vegas, Buffalo. It's hard.
It's a little bit of a letdown.
It's less emotionally engaging. Even for media, for fans, for players. Like
There's no former players on the roster. There's no former teammates you're really playing against. There's no real storylines to get up and motivated for.
It's Buffalo. I mean,
yeah,
they're
been
Buffalo
bad for so long. It's really hard to look at them as anything other than, oh, they should beat them. And
I'll say this though. The rematch they have later the year in Buffalo.
I bet you they're ready for that one.
I bet you
they're ready for that one. They're not going to try.
They better be. But so they rebounded on Saturday. Really good game. The goaltending was early. Flames got down 2-0, then clawed their way back in, won in overtime. It was a game where the Flames were the second best team early, and then they said, "What the hell are we doing? Let's start winning on them now." And then they just turned. I'll say this about the Flames when they make in-game adjustments. The Flames are very rarely bad. A bad Flames game is everyone's in the right spots, but they're losing battles and not executing as well as they could. And when the Flames flip a switch from bad to good, it's adjustments with puck possession, usually adjustments with puck management. So I asked Rasmus Anderson, like Daryl Sutter on after the Saturday game mentioned, made an adjustment after the first period. And after we were leaving the media room going to the Flames locker room, I go, shit, I should probably ask someone what the hell the adjustment was. And coaches sometimes are good explaining adjustments. Sometimes they're bad. Daryl can be really good. Sometimes he's not really good. Rasmus Anderson's always really good at explaining systemic adjustments. So I asked him, what did you change after the first period? He just said, we started hucking the puck deep and making their defense turn around and chase it down, because that was kind of what Carolina was doing to them. And they're like, this is no fun. And so they decide to give them a taste of their own medicine rather than try to play a carry game. And it worked. They got behind the D, they threw hits, they caused a lot of chaos. It reminded me of the adjustments they made against Vegas the week before, in that it was a similar style of game where the Flames were, they were okay in the first period. And then they made adjustments in the second period and started playing a bit more dump and chase and playing a bit more physical. And again, it wore Carolina down. And then they were able to, Rasmus Anderson made a really nice play in overtime to set up Tyler Toffoli for the overtime winner. It was a good game. And it was the Flames at home against a good team coming out of the first period down 2-0 and making adjustments, or 2-1.
They were 2-1 because they got the power play.
They got the late goal. Yeah.
And then Brett Ritchie's goal should never go in that shouldn't be an NHL goal. He's
I feel bad for Antti Ranta, but that's just like, okay, like, yeah, like that's the lone guy.
I know they made adjustments, but the third period was still dominated by the Canes. I honestly feel like Flames should feel lucky they got those 2 goals. The Canes really, they didn't let them shoot.
They got it because they're goalie.
They
were. I'll say this: they were down 2-0 in part because of their goalie, and then they stayed 2-2 also because of their goalie.
Goalie giveth, goalie taketh. The Flames didn't defend well. They didn't get good chances. Well, Carolina is a very, very good team. There are a lot of people's picks to be the Stanley Cup winner out of the East.
There was, I've seen more than a handful of predictions, including from our roundtable at the beginning of the season on the site that Robert put together of a Carolina Calgary conference or Stanley Cup final. And based on that game, okay, I'll watch that.
I picked them in the bracket challenge 2 years ago, and they failed me one step short. So I haven't picked them since because I'm still scorned by them. But no, they're fantastic. They're well built. They've got high-end draft picks with super skilled talent. They've got mid-range picks that turn out pretty damn well, like Sebastian Aho. And they're just speed and skill and power all built into one, combined with a defense that they understand the defense.
I'll say
Jacob Slavin is fantastic and should probably get more Norris consideration. I'm surprised when he went to the penalty box. I was more shocked about that than anything that happened in the game. Slavin took a penalty. He doesn't do that.
He's hurting his Lady Bing modifieds now.
But
it was the Flames.
They survived and they got the points. They got the dub. and you're not gonna win every game you dominate, and you're not gonna lose every game the other team's better. It's hockey. There's a randomization to it. So take your
and
luck,
I think
your legs
Carolina, I think it's Carolina, like scoring chances were according to naturalstattrick.com 30-7, high danger chances were 12-1, and the Flames won.
Yeah.
Goaltending.
And none of the Flames goals. I think even the power play goal was from. No, it was right in close. That was the Calgary whack in. But yeah, the only other goal to beat him was Brett Ritchie's 5-on-5, and that, like I said, that shouldn't be in. So
the one 5-on-5 goal was with his ass facing the corner boards.
I'm okay. Like if that happens against Carolina, cool, right? If that happens against the Canucks. All right, we're gonna have a conversation here, because the Canucks, the NHL, or someone was talking to Patty on Flames Talk today, and they just roasted him. They're like, "Yeah, our season's done already." So, but Calgary's not there. This is the best start they've ever had in franchise history at 5-1
for results. Yes,
and they really showed it early in the game against the Penguins. Like they came out punching.
They and let's be honest, it was very similar, the Tuesday game, to their season opener against Colorado. Colorado had played the day before at home against Chicago, then flew to Calgary. The Pittsburgh Penguins played the night before in Edmonton and came down.
7-5 win.
Neither situation involved a lot of travel, but you're still playing the night before against a hockey club that's trying to beat you. And then you're flying, and then you're getting in late, and then you don't have a morning skate usually, and then you got to get going. And the first period in those games can be challenging if the opposition makes it challenging. And against Colorado, the Flames came out, firing away in the first period of the season, and they did the same thing against Pittsburgh. And in this game, they got 2 goals in the first, 2 goals in the second, then they didn't really have to do much of anything in the third outside of defend. The second period, as Daryl Sutter said, not good. It was a Jacob Markstrom special where he made 20 saves on 21 shots in the second period alone. And he was I'd say this, the game story of the Pittsburgh game was obviously the Nazem Kadri show. He had 2 goals and an assist. He was excellent. Also excellent. And Pat told me on Flames Talk on Wednesday in hour 2 when we co-hosted, he mentioned he gets the opportunity to pick 3 stars for the home games. And he's like, if not for Nazem Kadri, he easily would have taken Jacob Markstrom as first star for the Tuesday game, because he was fantastic. He looked like he gave up 0 even strength goals. He gave up 0 bad goals. The goal he gave up was on a weird odd man break after a shorthanded break the other way.
Aggressive rebound too. Like the fact that Malkin was able to corral, like that was a heavy rebound off the pad. The fact that Malkin was a heavy rebound, but immediately recoil up back into the net.
Jeff Carter leaned into that one. You had Markstrom out to cut off the angle, aggressively booting it out. And yeah, it was a high skill play by the goalie to make that stop, and a high skill play by Evgeny freaking Malkin to corral it and redirect it. So, I mean, that's one of the ones where if you're the goalie and you look back up at the replay and go, what the hell happened there? You probably go, no. Okay. Yeah. Okay. They had me.
Now the hot start had me bring up something, because I mentioned it on Twitter the night of the game, but I wasn't alive for the 80s. So that was when the Flames and Oilers were absolutely dominant, right?
They're absolutely dominant, and they had friggin' track meets.
And what was if you recall, what was the name people gave Alberta when they had to come here?
Death Valley.
And I think Death Valley is back, because you have 2 choices in Alberta.
I'll say this. Yeah. I'll say this. In the 80s, pity the fool that has to come through the Smythe division. The Canucks got better. The Canucks' best years were in peak Bure years in like the mid to late 90s. The Flames and the Oilers and the Jets all had their peak years in like that 85 to 90 period.
Yeah.
Where if you were on a long road trip, you started it off or ended it with getting your head kicked in by the Jets before Solani, and then you either go or come from 2 games against Calgary and Edmonton where the 2 teams are basically trying to stay up to date with each other in the standings. I think we're back, man.
I think we're back because there's two things that happen. You either come to Calgary first, and Calgary doesn't give you a second. They give you maybe 1 second to think with the puck, and then they hit you, and then they hit you, and then they hit you. And if you're good at possession, they're going to dump the puck, they're going to go in, and they're going to forecheck, and you're going to get beat the crap out of. If you go to Edmonton first, well, guess what? You're in a track meet because you have to compete with Connor McDavid and all the high-speed, skilled players up there. And it doesn't matter what the score is. You're going to have to skate. So what do you want first? Do you want to get the crap beat out of you, or do you want to be bag skated? Because that's what's happening when you come to Alberta, come through Alberta. And so it's very mutually beneficial to each other. So if a team plays Calgary and then has to go to Edmonton, well, Edmonton's going to love that. If a team plays in Edmonton and then comes to Calgary, well, Calgary did the right thing against Pittsburgh and just pounced on them. And they weren't ready. They didn't have the energy. That's probably that plus Markstrom, the number, and Kadri. Those are the three reasons they won easily. But if the Penguins weren't that tired, Flames don't get off to that kind of hot start, and they're not that tired if they're not playing a 7-5 track meet in Edmonton.
I think it was it 7-5 or was it was well, I forget what the hell the score was.
I think it's 7-5, 6-5 with an empty netter, I think. But Death Valley is back, and I don't think anyone, especially the Eastern time zone teams, have to come here, play games at 10 o'clock their local time, and have to do one of those two things. It's Death Valley, great Alberta hockey, and I love it.
It was 6-3.
6-3? Yeah, I knew
they were up.
High score.
They were up, I think 3-1, and then the Oilers scored 5 consecutive goals.
Then Connor McDavid flew into the boards awkwardly, had to go to the dressing room, and I just think he was winded. I think he had to get up and walk around. But I didn't know. There's a 15-second span there where I thought Oilers fans were going to go after every single Penguins player on the ice. So I was worried
or offer to donate whatever injured body part was needed to get Connor McDavid back.
They cut it out right there.
They love their team.
Yes.
They love their team. Moving on, Shane. So on the site, we're excited to have a partnership with our friends at Betway.
Yeah.
And on every Flames game day, our friend Shane produces 3 bets of the day on the site. He ranks them primary, secondary, tertiary bets. Basically, the primary bet being the thing that he feels most revved up about. Then secondary, a little bit less ramped up about. Tertiary, can if you want. And then he has some odd bets at the end you can sort of just random things that maybe you try about. So we figured it's the first week that we've done this, and we figured we might as well on the pod audit Shane's performance.
Report card.
Granted, let's be honest here. Let's get one thing out of the way. It's sports gambling. You can't control stuff. And one of the things that we've seen from one of the big things about not just gambling but sports gambling is sports are random and chaotic, and that's what makes them fun, and also makes them very stressful to bet on. And I imagine, Shane, I was going to joke, I'm like, did you shave or did you pull your beard hair out looking at how your performances were? Shane had a pretty good variation in his performances. I'll run them down in the 3 games. We'll go a game at a time. The Buffalo game, he said he bet on a Lindholm anytime goal. Yep. Lindholm did not score. Yep. He said Huberdeau 2+ assists. Huberdeau only had 1 assist. And he said the Flames to win the puck line. The Flames lost outright by 3 goals, so they did not hit the puck line. The Carolina game, he said Svechnikov and Kadri would each get 1 point. Only Kadri got a point. No points for Svechnikov. He said Mangiapane would get 1 or more assists. Mangiapane got 0 assists. And he said the Flames would register 32 or more shots on goal. They did that.
32 on the nose, didn't they?
32 on the nose.
Yeah. So
and then the Pittsburgh game. This is the one where Shane, I think, started feeling the groove a bit. So he had Kadri for 1+ point. Kadri got 3 points, so he got that. He had Malkin and Kadri each getting a point. Malkin and Kadri both had goals, which are points, so he got that. And then he had total shots on goal being 30 or 65.5 or above, and
66.
So basically, you need 66 or higher, and I believe it was 68.
Yeah, I was just. It was like
just a smidge.
It was like within 3 with 12 minutes to go, and they finished just 2 above, and I was like, That's 12 minutes. They had 5 shots at the end of the game. And I'm like, are you kidding me, guys?
Elliot Friedman on the Wednesday edition of 32 Thoughts had a comment that, you know, he apparently some you know, he feels bad. I think he was telling an anecdote in the column, and sort of remarked that, you know, about how bad he feels for bettors who are looking at the shot totals and betting on that and going, no, don't take shots away from the thing, add shots. So I thought that was kind of funny. I thought of Shane when I read Elliot's column.
Yeah,
I'm like, I had this mental image of Shane just sort of with his face pressed up against the screen, be like, 3 more shots.
I was on my couch doing that. I have a witness too. So number one thing before I explain my thought processes here is these are my suggestions. I look at heavy like shot charts and expected goals ratios before I make any of these. I post them to the Betway articles. So if you're interested, the charts are there. You don't have to go looking for them. It's an all encompassing one spot to see, okay, well, this is what's going on. There's hundreds or 200 of bets each game.
Sometimes these things can be, for lack of better terms, stabs in the dark. So Shane is doing his best to make them less stabby and less dark.
Like I'm trying to put a flashlight on the knife. I'm trying to put a flashlight on the knife, if that makes sense. Like, so you're not completely stabbing into the dark. You can have kind of like
you're kind of getting an idea. So
it's the flashlight's batteries are running out, but at least there's something there.
Dude, you got like 70 games left. You got to get new batteries.
The Buffalo game made me so upset because the number one spot Buffalo gave up chances was the spot we always see Lindholm score from. Always. That spot between the dead center of the slot and the face-off dot, where the puck goes from behind the net right to him and he snipes it. And when you looked at the Sabres, like where they allowed shots from, that was heavy, tons of shots from there. And I was like, okay, well, if any game is going to get this top line going and the top line players going, it's going to be this game against this defense. And Buffalo destroyed them. And I was and that's the randomness of it all.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing Flames bets, and I'm trying to make the Flames centric. So if the Flames lose, odds are my bets aren't going to hit. That's why I throw in
sometimes they're going to lose, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like to throw in the mixes. No, Svechnikov made me mad. He had 66% of the expected goals. He's got 7 goals on the season and has a point in every single game this year except the one in Calgary. So, damn you, Mr. Svechnikov. And
I'll just say this. As someone who, like many of us in sports media, follows the Canes social media channels, I cannot hear the name Svechnikov
without hearing Jordan
Martinook just shouting Mr. Svechnikov.
Svechnikov.
As an aside, completely unrelated to anything, I love Jordan Martinook. He was sort of I remember when he was with the Coyotes, people were like, what is this guy? Where is he going to find a niche? What's he doing? He's not a bad player. He just didn't fit in Arizona as much as he does. He's a
glue guy in Carolina. They love him.
Fit the Carolina Hurricanes like a hand in a glove. He's a core guy for them, and it's fun to see. But he ruined your game.
Well, so I was going to switch gears for the Pittsburgh game, but I was like, no, I'm doing the right thing here. So I looked at who the best pen was and was getting the most points and the most expected goals, and it was Malkin. And I'm like, well, and then who else on the Flames right now? And every Flames fan will know the answer immediately. Who else is so hot right now? It's Nazem Kadri. So I picked the 2 hottest guys, and well, paid off. And first 3 for 3. I also had my first 0 for 3. So like you said, it's a spectrum.
It's a roller coaster.
Please don't take it as gospel. They're just suggestions. And please bet. And number one thing, please bet responsibly. And if there's any issues with gambling, please. I'm going to start posting a help section on the ad as well. If you need that, please seek it out. Don't be, as part of the whole Movember campaign, mental health, being able for men to talk about things, and women too, whoever's listening. But just don't let it become a problem, and bet responsibly and have fun doing it, because it is fun. When you hit your bets, it is fun. So,
and when you don't, as someone who has bet on Ultimate Fighting in the past and had things, we were talking about last week in the segment. We were talking about parlays, and so I was at a UFC show live. I can't, it was like maybe 8 or 10 years ago. And I had a parlay and I was like a 4-fight parlay and the first 3 fights hit and I was all excited. Like what I did for some reason was I bet like 4 of the fights on their own, like $10 each or something. And then I bet like a parlay and like 3 of the 4 fights were underdogs. And the other one was like one I'm like, oh, I have an idea what's going to win. And
See, if you
the last one I was up. And so I wasn't too bad, but I'm like, oh man, if fight 4 wins, I win my parlay and I'm going to go from being up comfortably to up like buying people drinks all night up. And it did not work out for me because it's a sport that's judged. The judges went split decision to the fighter I thought, or I bet to the fighter I thought lost and bet against. Did me betting against the player or the fighter color my perception? Probably. That's how cognitive dissonance works.
And you've actually brought up something that's actually worthwhile to talk about when betting. If you do have a parlay like that and you've hit your first 3, you can hedge your bet. So either way, so like, well, if I hit this, if fighter A wins, well, then I hit my parlay and I win big.
See,
you can place a second bet on fighter B, and it can hedge your losses or add to your gains.
I was in the MGM Garden Grand Arena and I was not in a position to get up from my seat and run and go place a bet. They wouldn't have let me back in.
Bet.
So
no, they would have
not.
That's why Betway provides this betting app, mobile betting app. So that's why I like our partner here. So
yeah, well, all I can say is I've never been. I've never watched the fight back because I'm convinced I was right and I'm convinced the judges had it wrong.
Don't you hurt yourself.
Yeah,
I just saw a fighter tweet that he said I don't know, maybe it's your guy. Someone tweeted out, one of the fighters from I think last weekend was like, I just rewatched the fight and I definitely won.
Of course he said that.
I just rewatched it. I definitely won.
There's no good coming of me rewatching fights that I bet on and lost. I'll just learn to live with the disappointment. So thank you, Shane. Speaking of learning to live with disappointment, actually, hopefully for Flames fans not living with disappointment, the Flames have 2 games over the next 7 days. One of them's a big one. On Saturday night, the Flames play the Edmonton Oilers in the second Battle of Alberta of the year. Of course, you might recall the Flames beat the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 in the first Battle of Alberta of the year up in Edmonton. So this is the rematch. Because of scheduling, they're all done before the new year because scheduling.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun game. Some of the Oilers Nation crew are coming down for that. So security's already been warned, and we'll see what happens.
Is Nation Dan coming? I'd love to get. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there in the nosebleeds, full send. So it's if the Nation boys are there listening to this, come find me.
I think I'm willing to bet they'll have better seats than you.
Watch, I'll find them then.
I'll go. And then Tuesday, the Flames continue their lengthy homestand against the second-year Seattle Kraken. Seattle Kraken no longer with Mark Giordano as their captain. They're an interesting group. They're trying to figure it out.
Matty Beniers, Rookie of the Year candidate. Hot start to the year. It's going to be if you're looking for a reason to watch the other team or who to watch on the other team, that's my suggestion. Matty Beniers, second overall pick from 2021, I believe. Yes. So
and I forget what's happened. Is Shane Wright still on the team, or do they send him down, or is he?
They haven't sent.
He's up and down. He's on the team, but sometimes he doesn't play.
If he got sent back, your phone would get 50 notifications from every Canadian sports outlet on the planet. But no, he's still there. He got scratched a couple of times. He only played less than 10 minutes a couple of times. They should just. You don't need to rush these guys to the NHL. Send them back. Let them you're Seattle. You're not. I don't know. It's hard to sell to their fans that you're not a contender, but you're brand new. You didn't build like a contender. You didn't play like one last year. Not a big Dave Haxtell fan myself, and his teams have always functioned.
I think they're still figuring it out. I mean, they had a bunch of turnover. I think they're still searching for their identity down in Kraken land, and I hope they find it because that's such a fun market. Seattle's got so much. There's so many good people around their organization, so many interesting stories, and they're bound to gel at some point. It just takes time. I mean, The Atlanta Flames were not particularly good for like 3 or 4 years, and then they got better.
Well, they need to get a save too. Like you can play a strong defensive structure, but if your goaltender doesn't stop the puck at all, which was the problem last year, and they decided to go out and bring Grubauer back, which, okay, he's the guy you paid long term. And then they went out and got Martin Jones because Driedger's out for the year, I believe. And their other one's Joey Decord. And anyways, none of them can make a save. How your players are going to lose motivation if your goaltender can't stop the puck.
Grubauer, Jones, Decord. And I think Jones is hurt now. I think.
That's probably why Decord came back.
Where's Grubauer hurt?
But
one of Seattle's goalies are hurt.
They're rocking an 880 something save percentage, the group of them together. It's just that could have been 3 days old by now. I see stuff as it pops up. I follow some really smart Seattle people, Allison Lukin especially. I always keep like an eye on what she's saying.
And I'll give a shout out to a friend of the program, Mike Benton, who's formerly of he covered the Everett Silvertips for many years. And then he got the call up to the NHL, so he's covering the Seattle Kraken. So same is my buddy Andy Eade, who I did a podcast with, covering the Western League for a few years. Mm-hmm. Like I said, there's a lot of good people around the organization.
Good content around the Seattle fans. So just keep a look. We usually, like, even if you're a Flames fan and you want to get into other things, start with beat writers. Just look for beat writers, people that follow the team around and follow them, and you can keep up to date.
I'll say this. Not that we condone gambling or pools, but as someone who likes to sort of keep track of a lot of stuff around the league, if you have a hockey pool with your buddies, even if you don't bet on it, it's such an easy way to sort of have your eye on what's going on. And it's just a natural way of getting into those kind of things. And, then you get to brag to your buddies that you won your pool last year or lost your pool. So
I did win last year. And this year, this year, my early pick was Gabe Velarde. And so far he has not.
Grubauer is the injured one. Grubauer is injured. Joan is not injured. Decord is up as the backup. That is my understanding as of right now.
That's not good. Wow. I mean, Seattle's still limiting shots too. So like that shouldn't be an easy game for Calgary. Like they should have to work for their opportunities. But if they're not going to stop it, then what are you going to do?
It's the National Hockey League. There are no easy games.
Well, it's the top level, yes.
But, Arizona and Chicago and Montreal are going to beat a lot of teams this year.
We didn't see him last week. It's time to play my new game. Do we see Vladar this week? Pike.
This week?
Do we?
Yeah.
He's supposed to play one game a week.
He'll play one of the next 2 games, I imagine. Probably Seattle.
I wouldn't be opposed to him playing Edmonton again. I know there's a lot of talk about the narrative around Markstrom and the Oilers, but I'm like, he did really good in Edmonton. Just it works. Play him again.
Yeah.
We'll see. Learned it. He's a great training camp, and they just re-signed him. I don't know if we talked about that. Yeah, we did. We talked about last week. But I mean, they obviously have the confidence in him.
They have no shortage of confidence in him, but I think they also want to get the mojo going for their starter. And he looked good against Pittsburgh and for a good chunk of the Carolina game.
Yeah. It's been 2 years without me having to wait more than 1 day between games, so I'm not used to this layover here. Like this actual
wait until November where there's going to be just too many games. But that's the best.
That keeps me busy. That keeps me on my toes.
And 5 p.m. starts, folks. Once we get in November, Eastern road trips, when they're going to knock out most of their 5 p.m. starts for the year. So if you want to have supper games, those are the games to have.
Yeah, that's reading week for me. They schedule
get some pizza on the way home and just have some pizza, have some beer. Maybe get DoorDash to deliver something for you so that you can go straight home, have DoorDash meet you at home, and then you're boom. You got dinner taken care of and the game started.
And then when the game's over, you can pour yourself Rupert's whiskey and call yourself a night.
Precisely. FlamesNation Radio is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors, including but not limited to Betway, DoorDash, and Eau Claire Distillery, the makers of Rupert's Whiskey, the official whiskey of the Calgary Flames. Please make sure that you catch all our content wherever you can find it. If you consume this podcast as a podcast, you can also catch Barn Burner on your podcatchers, as well as the Shotdown in Flames podcast on anywhere you get your podcasts, Google, Amazon, Spotify, every other thing. There's too damn many of them, but there's no shortage of places to find it. You can also catch all of our great all of our great video content on video, where you can get Shane's sweet 80s porn star look for the month of November, or maybe longer. You can also catch Pat Steinberg on Flames Nation Live. the Shutdown and Flames crew in all of their various states of disheveledness, and Audie looking like a goddamn professional, because Audie's just a professional man. And of course, the opposite of professional men, the Barn Burner group.
Love those guys.
We love them. We love them. I saw Boomer when I was in the office last week.
I like how Rhett.
He's just a great man.
I like how Rhett keeps adding to his office. Like every day he adds something new, and he's like, "Hey guys, do you guys like this?"
If there's one thing I know about Rhett Warner, is that he wore number 44. There's two things I know about Rhett Warner, is that he's a goddamn pro, and he's gonna add to his background, where our backgrounds have remained very stagnant for months.
And apparently he used to eat double his weight from the Bonton meat market. Like that was also.
I'm not here to tell people how to live.
Catch all that on the Barn Burner. As if you're listening to this, you should definitely listen to that too. So.
Yeah, if you want to catch our stuff, best advice: subscribe to the Nation Network YouTube channel. It'll give you notification anytime something new is live or uploaded, and you can ignore all the non-Flames content. And if you want to get the Flames content directly in your browser, highly recommend go down to playlists and find the Flames Nation playlist and bookmark that. And that way, you just go to the bookmark and it'll just have all the stuff in order of newest to oldest. So if you want to catch up and you have some spare time, maybe you want to have something playing in the background of the office when you're pretending to work, throw on your headphones, put it in a little browser corner, and boom, you're all set to get ready for game days. That'll do it for us on FlamesNation Radio. We'll catch you guys in a week. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next time.